Digging, draining, drenching. The story of peat in the Broads.
The Norfolk and Suffolk Broads today is the largest area of protected wetland in the country, and the landscape is unique. The 7 rivers that link the Broads, or lakes, are surrounded by grazing marsh, fen and carr woodland. But this landscape has seen many changes, and mostly it's not natural. Almost everywhere has been created or managed by people. The rivers have been diverted, the landscape has been drained, and the Broads themselves are not natural lakes. The story of Peat begins 1,200 years ago, after the invasion of the Danes.
Norfolk at that time was one of the most densely populated areas in the British Isles, and there was a great demand for peat, which was turning up in various rolls, various old records of Norwich Priory and Bennett's and various places like that.
Wood became scarce as more fuel was needed, both for domestic use and for making salt. People instead burned peat, a custom brought over from Scandinavia. Peat digging continued on a large scale until the early 1400s. Each householder was given a strip of land to dig. A man could cut up to 1,000 peat turfs per day. However, he also had to dig peat for up to 23 days each year for his landowner, usually the church. The turfs were stacked to dry and then burned in the winter.
I'm sodding through and need to dig this evening so my kids stay warm this winter.
It's all right for them monks. They always stay dry and warm.
They find old Smith down the road. He can't work because of his back.
Reckon that'll be the end of him now.
Mounds, or bulks of peat, were left around the diggings to reduce flooding. Methods to extract peat in flooded areas were adapted from digging to dredging. Eventually, the deeper pits were abandoned and left to flood. As coal became available from the north of the country, commercial peat digging ended. Around 2,611 acres, or 1,057 hectares, was dug, and around 25.5 million cubic metres removed. That's almost 1,500 football pitches. The marshes were used for salt panning and to graze sheep in the summer. In the autumn, many animals were slaughtered and the salt used to preserve their meat. Banks were created along rivers and dikes or ditches were dug to move the water off the marshes and create more fertile land. Later, a deeper network of ditches was dug. Small wind-driven scoop wheels were built to lift water out of the marshes and into the main rivers. Eventually, most marshes were drained. When drained, the rich soil started to shrink and more energy was needed to pump the water uphill. The drainage mills evolved, being powered at first by wind, then coal and diesel, and eventually by electricity. Globally, drained peatlands are responsible for 5% of all man-made greenhouse gas emissions. However, undrained peatlands capture carbon from the air and help the fight against climate change. The Broads peatland, fen and reed bed also support a quarter of the UK's rarest species. Protecting this landscape is important for biodiversity too. So, what can we do? There is a project to re-wet some of the marshes to retain peat and use it as a carbon store. Exciting new products can be created from reed, canary grass and sedge, which grow naturally on a bog landscape. and the factories that make these products can be fueled by biomass. The landscape may be created, but will it remain a haven for wildlife and play a part in combating climate change? Only time will tell.